I opened the door to my own house and found my wife kneeling on the floor wearing a dirty apron that said Maid. I froze in the doorway. My suitcases hit the ground with a dry thud. She looked up, and in her eyes I saw something I will never forget. It was not surprise. It was not joy at my return. It was shame. A deep, crushing shame that made it impossible for her to hold my gaze. "Emily," I whispered. My hands were shaking. My wife, the woman with whom I had built an empire for 35 years, was there on her knees, scrubbing the living room floor with an old rag. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, gray strands sticking to her forehead with sweat. Her arms, those arms that once hugged me tight, looked fragile, trembling veins showing under skin that was too thin. The apron was the worst part, dirty white stained with grease with black letters printed on the front. Maid. In my own house. It is not that I am a man who is easily impressed. At 58 years old, I have seen it all. I built 3 companies from scratch. I survived economic crises, partner betrayals, years of sacrifice away from my family. But this was something my mind could not process. "Emily, for the love of God, what is happening here?" She tried to get up quickly. She tripped over the bucket of dirty water and almost fell. I ran to hold her, but she recoiled as if my touch burned her. "No, no, William, you should not be here yet." Her voice was a broken thread. "You said you were arriving next week." "I wanted to surprise you," I replied, feeling the rage beginning to boil in my chest. And what a surprise I got. Then I heard footsteps. They were coming down the stairs with insulting tranquility. My son Michael appeared first with his cell phone in his hand. He did not even look up. Behind him came her. Linda, my daughter-in-law, dressed as if she were going to a photo shoot in a designer sports outfit and perfectly styled hair. "Emily, did you finish the living room yet?" Because the upstairs bathroom was left horrible, and Linda stopped dead when she saw me. Oh, God. Michael finally raised his head. His expression went from surprise to annoyance in a second. "Dad, what a surprise." I stood there looking at them. At my 32-year-old son wearing a $500 t-shirt and sneakers that cost more than many people's monthly salary. At my daughter-in-law with her perfect nails and her princess attitude. And then I looked back at Emily, my 59-year-old wife, with that humiliating apron, with her knees red from scrubbing floors. "Explain to me," I said with a calm I did not feel. "Explain to me what the hell is happening in my house." Michael let out a nervous laugh. "Dad, you just do not understand the situation. Mom wanted to help with the household expenses and—" "Help," I interrupted him. "Help by putting on a maid apron in her own house." Linda crossed her arms with a condescending smile that made me clench my fists. "Oh, father-in-law, do not be dramatic." Emily offered herself. "We work all day. Someone has to keep the house in order. Besides, she has nothing else to do, right? You are abroad, the kids are grown up." My blood boiled. Every word from that woman was an insult, but I held back because something in the way Emily kept her head down and how she squeezed the rag between her trembling hands told me this had been going on for a long time. "How long have you been like this?" I asked my wife directly. She did not answer. She only lowered her gaze further. "Answer me, Emily." 2 years, she whispered finally. "Since Michael and Linda moved here temporarily." 2 years. 2 years that I had been working abroad, sending money every month, thinking my family was fine. 2 years in which my wife had been reduced to an employee in her own home. I turned to Michael, my son, the boy I educated, whose private university I paid for, whose first car I bought, whom I supported when he decided to marry Linda despite my reservations. "And you allowed this." My voice came out lower than I expected, but loaded with a disappointment that weighed tons. He shrugged. "Dad, we contribute too. We pay for utilities, we buy food. This is my house," I said, slowly bought with my work. "And she," I pointed to Emily, "is my wife. Your mother. She is not anyone's employee." Linda huffed. "Oh, for God's sake, what a dinner." "Emily, why did you tell him?" "We knew he was going to get like this." Something inside me broke. During 35 years, Emily and I built everything together. When I started my first business, she worked 12 hours a day in a fabric store to help me pay expenses while I built the company. When the children were born, she gave up her dreams of studying architecture to raise them. When I had to travel for work, she stayed alone, holding the family together. She never complained. She never asked for anything in return. Only love, respect, company. And now, after everything she had sacrificed, she was on her knees in her own house, being treated like trash by her own son. "Get out," I said. Michael blinked. "What?" I said, "Get out. Both of you. Now." Linda let out an incredulous laugh. "Are you serious? Where are we going to go? We sold our apartment a year ago because you said we could stay here. Not my problem. You have 1 hour to pack your things and get out of my house." Michael took a step forward, fists clenched. "Dad, you cannot do this to us. We are your family." "Mom, say something!" Emily was still on the floor, quiet eyes full of tears. I knelt beside her. I took the rag from her hands gently. I unfastened the apron and threw it to the other side of the room as if it were a contaminated rag. "Get up, my love," I told her softly. "Please get up." She shook her head. "I cannot, William. I cannot cause them problems. Problems. For them." I took her face in my hands. "Emily, look at me. Look me in the eyes." Slowly she looked up. In those tired eyes, in those wrinkles that suffering had made deeper, I saw the woman I had loved all my life, but I also saw something I should never have allowed. Defeat. "You are not going to cause them any problems," I told her firmly. "They caused them to you, and that ends today." I stood up and turned to my son and daughter-in-law, who looked at us with a mixture of disbelief and rage. "1 hour," I repeated. "If you do not leave the easy way, I will call the police and take you out the hard way. This is my house. It is in my name. And you have no legal right to be here." Linda pointed at me with a finger trembling with rage. "You are going to regret this. Michael is your son. We are your family. Family does not humiliate. Family does not turn a mother into a servant. You are not family. You are parasites." The words came out of my mouth like knives. Michael turned pale. Linda opened her mouth to respond, but I raised a hand. "I do not want to hear one more word. Out. Now." They went upstairs, slamming doors, yelling things at each other. I did not care. I only cared about Emily, who was still trembling on the floor. I helped her up carefully. I hugged her. I felt her body thinner than I remembered, shaking with silent sobs. "Forgive me," she whispered against my chest. "Forgive me for not telling you anything. I did not want to worry you. You were working so much." "No," I interrupted her. "Do not apologize. None of this is your fault. Nothing. But deep down I knew it was my fault. For being absent. For not calling more often. For trusting blindly that my son would take care of his mother. 35 years ago, when Emily and I met, she worked in a small bookstore downtown. I had just started my first business selling auto parts in a borrowed garage. I had nothing. She did not either. But we had dreams. We got married in a simple ceremony with 20 guests and a cake made by her mom. Our honeymoon was a weekend in a cheap motel down the coast. We did not care. We were happy. We worked like animals for years. I built the business. She worked by day and studied by night until she got pregnant with Michael and had to leave everything. She did not complain. She never complained. When the company started to grow, we bought this house. It was smaller then, only 2 bedrooms. Over time, we expanded it, remodeled it. Every brick, every piece of furniture was placed with our effort. And now that same house, our refuge, had become a prison for her. I took her to the sofa. I brought her water. I sat beside her, holding her hand. Her fingers were rough, full of calluses I did not remember. Nails, short, unpainted. The hands of someone who has worked tirelessly. "How did all this start?" I asked gently. "Tell me, Emily. I need to know." She took a deep breath, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. At first, they only wanted to stay a few months. They said they were saving to buy a bigger house. I was happy to have them here. The house felt less empty without you and without the kids. And then Linda started asking me to help her with some things. If I could wash her clothes, if I could cook dinner because she arrived tired from work. I had no problem, William. They are my family. But later it was more. If I could clean their room, if I could iron Michael's clothes for work. Her voice broke. She had to stop a moment to catch her breath. "One day," she continued, "I arrived from shopping and found that apron on my bed with a note that said, 'So you do not stain your clothes while you clean.' Linda had left it there. She was laughing as if it were a joke. But Michael was there, and he said nothing. Nothing, William. My own son said nothing." I closed my eyes. The rage was a live animal inside my chest, trying to get out. "Why did you not call me? Why did you not tell me? Why?" "Because I thought it was temporary. I thought they would leave soon, and you were so stressed with work, with the contracts, with everything. I did not want to be another burden." "Emily, you have never been a burden. Never. But I felt like one," she whispered. "I felt useless, old, without purpose. You were abroad doing important things. The children had their lives. What was I? Just a 59-year-old woman without a job, without a degree, without anything. I squeezed her hand hard. You are my wife. You are the mother of my children. You are the strongest woman I know, and if anyone made you feel less than that, they will pay for it. Upstairs we heard more banging and yelling. Michael and Linda packing their things with rage. I did not care. Let them scream all they wanted. Emily looked at me with tired eyes. And now, what is going to happen? I stayed silent for a moment, looking around the living room. This house we built together, this life we raised with so much effort, and I realized something important. Everything can be rebuilt except dignity. Once someone takes it from you, once they teach you that your place is on your knees, something inside you dies. But I was not going to allow Emily to die inside. Now, I said slowly, we are going to get your life back. We are going to recover everything they took from you. She shook her head. It is too late, William. I am already too old to. Do not say that I interrupted her. Do not ever say that again. You are 59 years old. You have a whole life ahead of you, and I am going to make sure you live it with the dignity you always deserved. At that moment, they came down the stairs. Michael and Linda were carrying suitcases, bags, boxes. Their faces were red with fury. I hope you are happy, Michael spat, throwing your own son into the street for a stupid scene from your wife. I jumped up. Michael stepped back instinctively. Finish that sentence, I said quietly. Dare to finish it, and you are going to meet a version of me you do not want to see. Linda pulled Michael by the arm. Let us go. This old man is crazy. You will see in a week he will be begging us to come back. They went toward the door. Michael stopped for a moment. He turned to see his mother, who was still on the sofa, small, broken. Mom, he started. Go, I said before he could continue. You have caused enough damage. The door closed with a slam that resonated throughout the house. Silence, a deep, heavy silence that somehow was better than all the noise before. I sat down again next to Emily. She was crying silently, shoulders shaking. You made our son leave, she whispered. No, I corrected her. He decided to leave when he decided to treat you like trash. I just showed him the door. We spent the rest of the afternoon like that, hugged on the sofa. At some point, Emily fell asleep, exhausted physically and emotionally. I stayed awake, looking at the ceiling, thinking. I thought about all the decisions that had led me to that moment. In the years I spent working far away, convinced I was doing the best for my family. How, while I was building a financial empire, my wife was being destroyed emotionally in her own home. There is a phrase my father told me when I started my first business. You can build the tallest building in the world, but if you build it on sand, the first tremor brings it down. I had built an empire on sand. I had assumed that love, that family, that blood ties were enough to keep everything together. But I was wrong, because sometimes blood is not enough. Sometimes children forget that their parents are also people with feelings, with dignity, with limits. And when those limits are crossed, when that dignity is trampled, well, then difficult decisions must be made. Emily moved in her sleep, murmuring something incomprehensible. Carefully I adjusted her, better put a blanket over her. She looked so fragile, so tired, but I also saw something else in her face, a glimpse of peace I had not seen in months. I got up and walked through the house. I walked it as if it were the first time. Every room told a story. The kitchen where Emily taught me to make pot roast, the living room where we celebrated every birthday of the kids, the garden where we planted that lemon tree that now shaded half the terrace. I went up to the second floor. The room Michael and Linda had occupied was a disaster. Clothes thrown, drawers open, trash on the floor. They had left everything as if they were passing tourists, not family. On the nightstand there was a photo of Michael's wedding. Emily and I were there, smiling with our son in the middle. He looked so happy, so full of promise. What had happened? When had he become this man capable of humiliating his own mother? I had no answers. I only had questions and a rage I did not know how to process. I went back down. Emily was still asleep. I sat beside her. I watched her breathe. 59 years old, 35 of marriage, a whole life together. And we still had time. Time to rebuild, time to heal. But first there were accounts to settle. I took out my phone, dialed a number I knew by heart. Lawyer Davis answered, a familiar voice. David, it is, William. I need you to come to my house tomorrow early. There are documents we have to review. Is everything okay? No, but it is going to be. I hung up. I looked at my phone. I had 32 missed calls from Michael, 20 text messages. I deleted them all without reading them because there were things that had no turning back, words that once said could not be erased. Actions that once committed marked a point of no return. My son had crossed that point, and now he was going to understand that decisions have consequences. All decisions. Dawn entered through the windows with a soft light that illuminated Emily's face. She had slept all night on the sofa, curled under the blanket. I stayed awake, sitting in the armchair opposite, watching her as if I were afraid she would disappear. At 7 in the morning, the doorbell rang. It was David Harrison, my lawyer for 15 years. A serious, meticulous man, one of those who does not ask unnecessary questions. I opened the door carefully, not to wake Emily. "Good morning, William," he greeted me with a firm handshake. "You look terrible." "I feel worse," I admitted. "Come in." We sat in the dining room. I took out all the documents I had kept in my office. House deeds, company papers, bank accounts, wills, everything. David reviewed every paper with professional attention, making notes in his notebook. "What exactly do you want to do?" he asked finally. I told him everything, every detail of what I had found upon returning. The apron, the humiliation, the 2 years of silent servitude. David listened without interrupting, but I saw his jaw tighten. "I understand," he said when I finished, "and I also understand why you called me. You want to protect Emily. I want more than that. I want to ensure that never again can anyone hurt her, not even our own children." David nodded slowly. "There are several things we can do. First, change the will. Second, establish an irrevocable trust for Emily. Third, document everything that has happened, just in case your son attempts any legal action." "Do all that," I said without hesitation, "and there is something else I want." "What is it?" "The companies. I want to transfer 40% of the shares to Emily's name." Immediately, David raised his eyebrows. "William, that is a very important decision." "Are you sure?" "Completely. Emily sacrificed 35 years of her life so I could build those companies. It is time she receives what always belonged to her. And for Michael," I stared at the papers scattered on the table. My son's name appeared on several documents. Main beneficiary of the will. Future heir of the companies. Everything I had built was going to be his one day, but that was before he decided to turn his mother into a servant. "For Michael," I said slowly, "nothing. Absolutely nothing until he proves he deserves something." David took a deep breath. "You are going to unleash a war, you know that, right? Let it come. I am ready." We worked for 3 hours. I signed papers, made transfers, changed beneficiaries. When we finished, Emily was already awake, watching us from the entrance of the dining room with a face of confusion. "What are you doing?" she asked with a small voice. I got up and walked toward her. "We are fixing mistakes. Mistakes I should have corrected a long time ago." David greeted Emily with respect, put away his documents, and said goodbye, promising to have everything ready in 48 hours. When he left, Emily looked at me with eyes full of questions. "William, what did you do?" I took her hand and led her back to the dining room. I showed her the papers, explained every change. I saw her eyes open wider and wider. But this is too much," she whispered. "The companies, the house, everything. I do not need." "Yes, you need," I interrupted her. "You need to know that never again will you depend on anyone. That never again will anyone be able to treat you like they treated you. This is not a gift, Emily, it is justice." She started to cry again, but this time it was different. It was not the broken weeping of yesterday, it was something deeper, as if years of pain were coming out at once. "I do not know what to say," she sobbed. "Do not say anything, just promise me one thing. That never again will you put the needs of others before your own dignity. That never again will you allow anyone, not even our children, to make you feel small." She nodded, hugging me tightly. We spent the rest of the morning in silence, reorganizing the house. I went up to the room Michael and Linda had occupied. I picked up all the trash they left, washed the sheets, opened the windows to let fresh air in. I transformed that space back into what it was before, a clean and tidy guest room. In the process, I found things that made my blood boil. Receipts from expensive restaurants, concert tickets, brand-name clothes with tags still on, everything paid for with the credit cards I had given them for emergencies. While they spent my money on luxuries, Emily cleaned floors with destroyed knees. I went down with a box full of all those things. I left it at the entrance. "If Michael comes for his things, let him take this too," I told Emily. "I want him to see exactly what he spent his time on while you worked like a slave." Emily looked at the box with sadness. "He was our son, William. Our baby. How did we get to this point?" It was a question I had also asked myself all night. Where did we go wrong? At what moment did our son go from being a loving child to a man capable of such cruelty? We spoiled him, I said finally. We gave him everything. We never told him no. We never taught him that things are earned with effort, not with divine right. But I thought if we gave him love, if we gave him opportunities. Love without limits is not love, Emily. It is complicity. And we were accomplices in turning him into someone who believes the world owes him something. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. Do you think he will ever forgive us for this? The question hurt me because I knew the answer. I do not know, but I am not going to ask for his forgiveness for protecting you. If that makes me the villain of his story, so be it. That afternoon, while Emily rested, I sat in my office and reviewed the bank records of the last 2 years. Every transaction, every movement, what I discovered left me breathless. Michael had been withdrawing money from a joint account I had with Emily. They were not huge amounts, nothing that would attract attention immediately. $500 here, $1,000 there. But adding everything up in 2 years, he had taken almost $50,000. $50,000 that I sent so Emily could live comfortably while I was abroad. I called the bank. I asked for the authorization records. It turns out Emily had signed every withdrawal, but when I asked to see copies of the signatures, something did not add up. The handwriting was similar, but not identical. Too firm, too sure to be the shaky handwriting of someone who was being manipulated. I called Emily to the office. I showed her the documents. Did you sign these withdrawals? She looked at the papers and her face went pale. Yes, but Linda told me it was for household expenses that we had to pay utilities, groceries, things like that. Emily, look at the dates. This withdrawal of $2,000 was the same day I found receipts for a $500 restaurant dinner. This one of $1,500 was the same week they bought tickets for a concert in Las Vegas. She brought her hands to her mouth. My God, I thought. They told me. They lied to you. They used you. They took your money, your time, your dignity, and turned it into vacations and luxuries for themselves. Emily let herself fall into the chair, face in her hands. Her body shook with silent sobs. I knelt beside her, holding her. I am so sorry, she whispered. I was so stupid. You were not stupid, you were manipulated. There is a difference, but I should have realized. I should have asked you. I should have. Stop, I said firmly. Stop blaming yourself for the evil of others. They did this. They are responsible, not you. That night I received the first call from Michael. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. Then came messages. First trying the guilt route. Dad, Mom is very sad. Is this what you want, destroying your family? Then came the veiled threats. I hope you know what you are doing. Linda is talking to her lawyer. This can get ugly. And finally the desperate plea. Dad, please. We have nowhere to go. Just give us another opportunity. I deleted every message without replying, because words no longer meant anything. Opportunities had run out the moment they put that apron on Emily. The next day, David returned with more documents. Emily and I signed everything necessary. When we finished, my wife was officially co-owner of 40% of my companies. Millions of dollars in assets were now in her name. How does it feel? David asked her with a smile. Emily looked at the papers as if they were strange objects. I feel scared. I do not know anything about business. I do not know how to handle this. You are going to learn, I told her, and I am going to teach you. You are no longer going to depend on anyone, Emily. Never again. That afternoon we went to the bank. We opened new accounts only in her name. We transferred money. We set up cards. The manager attended to us personally, explaining every detail to Emily with patience. When we left, she carried a black card in her wallet, a card with her name, her money, her freedom. I do not know what to do with all this, she confessed as we walked to the car. Do what you want. Buy what makes you happy. Travel. Study. Resume those dreams you put away 30 years ago. Life is not over, Emily. It is just starting again. She looked at me with bright eyes. Do you really believe that? I know it. That night we dined at an elegant restaurant downtown. It had been years since we went out alone, without kids, without obligations, without rush. We ordered wine, expensive food, dessert. Emily looked beautiful in a dress she had bought that same afternoon with her own money without having to ask anyone for permission. I feel weird, she admitted while holding her glass of wine, as if I were doing something bad. Bad. Why? Why? Because Michael is out there not knowing what to do, and we are here dining as if nothing happened. I left my fork on the plate. Emily, look at me. Michael is a grown man of 32 years. He has a degree, he has experience, he has contacts. If he wanted, he could get a job tomorrow. The problem is not that he cannot. The problem is that he does not want to. He is used to living off us without effort. But he is our son, and you are my wife. And for 2 years, while he lived comfortably in our house, he turned you into his servant. When are you going to put a limit, Emily? When are you going to say enough? She lowered her gaze, played with the napkin in her hands. I am afraid, she whispered. I am afraid of losing him forever. Sometimes I told her gently, you have to be willing to lose something to know if you really have it. If Michael loves us, if he really values this family, he is going to understand what he did, and he is going to look for a way to fix it. But if not, then he was never ours to begin with. That night when we returned home, there was someone waiting at the door. It was Linda, my daughter-in-law. Alone, eyes red from crying, makeup smeared. I got out of the car slowly. Emily stayed inside, watching from the window. What are you doing here? I asked with a cold voice. Mr. William, please, I need to talk to you. Her voice sounded desperate. We have nothing to talk about. Please, she stepped closer. Just 5 minutes, I beg you. I looked toward the car. Emily shook her head. But something in Linda's expression made me doubt. She was not the same haughty and condescending woman from 2 days ago. This person in front of me looked broken. 5 minutes, I said finally. And do not even think about getting close to Emily. Linda nodded quickly. We sat on the porch steps. She wrung her hands, not knowing where to start. I know I did everything wrong, she began with a trembling voice. I know I am unforgivable. But I need you to know that I did not know. That you did not know what I interrupted her. That you did not know you were humiliating a 59-year-old woman. That you did not know that apron was cruelty. That you did not know you were stealing her money. She started to cry. I grew up like that. My mom always did everything at home. I thought it was normal. I thought Emily wanted to help. Lie. It is true, she raised her voice. I never had a mom who taught me how to be different. My mom worked 3 jobs. She was never home. I had to take charge of my siblings since I was 12. When I met Michael, when I saw everything you guys had, I thought finally I could rest. That someone else could carry everything. At Emily's expense. Yes, she admitted between sobs. Yes, and it was wrong. Very wrong. But I did not know how to do things better. I stood watching her. Part of me wanted to send her to hell. But another part, a smaller part, remembered that this woman was also a product of her own story. Of her own wounds. Where is Michael? I asked. In a hotel. We spent almost everything we had on the reservation. No, I do not know what we are going to do after. And him. Does he understand what he did? Linda stayed silent for a moment too long. I do not know. He is angry. He says you are exaggerating, that we also contributed, that Emily never complained. There is your answer, I said, standing up. As long as he does not understand, there is nothing else to talk about. But Mr. William, time is up. I pointed to the street. Go, Linda, and do not come back until your husband is ready for a real conversation. No excuses, no justifications, only truth. She got up slowly, wiping her tears. Can I speak with Emily? Just to ask for forgiveness? No. Please. I said no. Emily has heard enough lies. When you are ready to tell the truth, to accept your responsibility without buts or justifications, then maybe. But not before. Linda nodded slowly and started walking toward the street. She stopped halfway and turned. My mom told me that one does not know what they have until they lose it, she said with a broken voice. I lost everything, right? I did not answer. I only watched her walk away into the darkness of the night. When I entered the house, Emily was at the window looking out. What did she want? Forgiveness. Or at least something that looked like forgiveness. And you? I have nothing to forgive. That forgiveness has to come from you if one day you decide she deserves it. Emily turned to me with tears in her eyes. I do not know if I can forgive her. I do not know if I can forgive either of them. You do not have to decide today, nor tomorrow, nor next month. Forgiveness does not have a deadline. That night, lying in our bed, Emily confessed something to me that broke my heart. There were days, she whispered in the dark, where I thought about leaving, packing a suitcase, and simply disappearing. But I had nowhere to go. I had no money. I had nothing. I felt trapped in my own house. I hugged her tighter. You are never going to feel like that again, I promise you. But what if it happens again? What if I am weak again? You are not weak, Emily. You are human. And humans make mistakes. But from those mistakes we learn. And I am going to be here by your side to ensure that never again do you have to face anything alone. We stayed like that, hugged in silence, while outside the world kept turning. I knew this was not over, that Michael would eventually return, that there would be more difficult conversations, more tears, more pain, but I also knew something more important, that Emily was no longer alone, that she was no longer the broken woman I found on her knees on the floor. Something in her was starting to change. Something was waking up, and I was going to be there to see that transformation blossom. Because after 35 years of marriage, of shared sacrifices and efforts, she finally deserved to live a life where no one made her feel small. She deserved the dignity she always should have had, and I was going to ensure she got it even if I had to burn everything else to achieve it. A week after the day I kicked Michael out of the house, Emily began to change. It was not an immediate change like those that happen overnight. It was gradual, like the sunrise. First it was the posture. She stopped walking, hunched over with shoulders slumped. Then it was the voice. She stopped whispering, stopped asking permission for everything. And finally it was the eyes. They recovered that shine I remembered from when we met more than 30 years ago. One morning I found her in the kitchen, not cleaning or preparing something for someone else, but sitting quietly with a cup of coffee reading the newspaper. "Good morning," I greeted her. She looked up and smiled at me. A real smile, not one of those forced ones I had seen for months on video calls. "Good morning, love. Did you sleep well?" Like I have not slept in years, I admitted, sitting next to her. "And you?" "All night, without waking up once." We sat like that, in comfortable silence, drinking coffee. It was strange how something so simple could feel so extraordinary after everything that had happened. "I was thinking," said Emily suddenly, "about what you said the other day about resuming my dreams." "Yes. Remember, I wanted to study architecture. Of course you had passed all the exams when you got pregnant with Michael." She nodded, looking at her coffee cup with a thoughtful expression. "I never regretted leaving my studies. Being a mom was the best thing that happened to me. But there was always a part of me that wondered what would have happened if—" "Well, now you can find out," I interrupted her. "You are 59 years old, not 90. If you want to study architecture, study architecture. At my age, William, I would be the grandmother of all the students." "So what? Since when do you care what others think?" She laughed, a genuine laugh that filled my chest with warmth. "You are right. Since when do I care?" That same afternoon, we went to the university. Emily asked for information about the architecture program. The secretary, a young woman of about 25, looked at her strangely. "Ma'am, excuse me, is the information for you or for a relative?" "For me," replied Emily firmly. Ah, the girl blinked several times. "Well, sure, yes, we have students of all ages, although the majority are young people of 18, 20 years old." She did not ask that, I interrupted. "Just give us the enrollment information." We left there with brochures, requirements, and dates. Emily was quiet, but I could see that in her head ideas were moving at full speed. "What are you thinking about?" I asked her as we walked to the parking lot. "I am thinking that maybe I can do it, maybe it is not too late. It is never too late to be who you should have been from the beginning." That phrase I had heard somewhere, I did not remember where, but I felt Emily needed to hear it. The following days were different. Emily started filling out enrollment forms, looking for information on subjects, getting excited about something other than cleaning, cooking, or serving others. I, for my part, dedicated myself to reorganizing the companies. I called my partners. The managers explained that I would be back in the country permanently. Some were surprised, others were happy, but everyone understood that things were going to change. I also dedicated myself to finding a good psychologist for Emily. She needed professional help to process all the damage she had suffered. At first, she resisted. "I am not crazy, William. I do not need a psychologist. It is not about being crazy. It is about healing so that someone professional helps you understand that nothing that happened was your fault." Finally, she accepted. She started going twice a week. She did not tell me much about what they talked about in the sessions, but I noticed the changes. More confidence, less guilt, less fear. It was in the third week when I received an unexpected call. It was my daughter Sarah, who lived in Chicago with her husband and 2 kids. I had not called her to tell her what happened with Michael. I did not want to put her in the middle of the family conflict, but apparently Michael had already done so. "Dad," her voice sounded annoyed, "is it true you kicked Michael out of the house?" "Hello, Sarah. Yes, it is true." "And is it true you took all the money and changed the will?" "Also true." "What were you thinking?" "He is your son, my brother." I breathed deep. I knew this conversation would arrive eventually. Sarah, did your brother tell you why I kicked him out? He told me you arrived from your trip in a bad mood and exaggerated because Mom was helping with house chores. Helping, I let out a bitter laugh. Daughter, your brother turned your mother into his maid for 2 years. He put an apron on her that said maid and put her to clean floors on her knees while he and his wife spent your mom's money on restaurants and trips. Silence on the other side of the line. Dad, that cannot be true. Ask your mother. Call her. Listen to her. And then tell me if I am exaggerating. I need to speak with Mom. Do it. But do it alone without Michael pressuring or manipulating the conversation. She hung up without saying goodbye. A few minutes later, Emily's phone started ringing. It was Sarah. Emily looked at me with panic. I do not know what to tell her. Tell her the truth. Only the truth. Emily answered and went to another room. They were talking for almost 2 hours. When she finally hung up, Emily had red eyes, but also an expression of relief on her face. What happened? I asked. I told her everything. Absolutely everything. At first, she did not believe me. She thought you had put ideas in my head. But when I told her details that only I could know, when I described exactly how I felt every day, she started to cry. And what did she say? That she was sorry. That she should have been more attentive. That she should have visited more often. That she should have noticed the signs. I told her it was not her fault. That she has her own life. Her own children. But I think she feels bad. We all feel bad, I said. We all failed to see you. Emily shook her head. No, William. You did not fail. You were working to give us a good life. Michael failed. Linda failed. I failed by allowing it. Stop blaming yourself. I am not blaming myself. I am accepting my responsibility. There is a difference. My psychologist explained it to me. I looked at her, surprised by the clarity with which she spoke. I like this new version of you, I told her with a smile. Me too. 2 days later, Sarah arrived in the city without warning. She knocked on the door on a Saturday morning with her 2 kids of 6 and 8 years old. Emily opened and froze when she saw her. Mom, said Sarah with a trembling voice, I came to see you. They hugged in the doorway, crying, both of them. The kids ran in, shouting, Grandma, Grandpa. With that overflowing energy that only children have, we spent the day together. Sarah did not mention Michael even once. She only dedicated herself to being with her mother, listening to her, observing her. At some point in the afternoon, while the kids played in the garden, Sarah approached me. Dad, I really did not know things were this bad. I know, daughter. If I had known, if I had visited more, if I had paid attention. You cannot change the past, but you can be here now. Mom is okay. She looks different. She is healing. Little by little, Sarah looked toward where Emily was playing with her grandkids in the garden. A simple, beautiful scene that for 2 years had been impossible because Emily was too busy serving Michael and Linda. I spoke with Michael. After speaking with Mom, Sarah confessed quietly. And he got angry. He told me you guys were brainwashing me, that Mom is exaggerating everything, that he always treated her well. I told him that was a lie, that Mom told me things she cannot have invented. He got furious. He told me if I supported you guys, we were no longer siblings. I am sorry, Sarah. Do not be sorry, she stared at me. He decided that, not me. I just decided to be on the right side. I felt proud of my daughter in that moment. Proud that despite family pressure, she had chosen the truth. Sarah stayed the whole weekend. Sunday night before leaving, she asked Emily something. Mom, I want you to come to Chicago. Stay a week, 2 weeks, as long as you want. The kids miss you. I miss you. And I think it would do you good to be away from all this for a while. Emily looked at me, seeking my approval. I nodded. Go enjoy your grandkids. I am staying here fixing some pending issues. Are you sure? Completely. Emily went to Chicago with Sarah Monday morning. I stayed alone in the house, but I did not feel alone. For the first time in weeks, I felt things were starting to settle. I took advantage of those days to do something I had been postponing, clearing my conscience with the rest of the family. I called my brothers, my cousins, everyone who mattered. I told them what had happened. Reactions were varied. Some supported me unconditionally. Others thought I had exaggerated. One of my brothers, Mark, told me something that left me thinking. William, I understand you are angry. But that boy is your son. Children make mistakes. Are you really going to destroy your relationship with him over this? I am not destroying anything, Mark. He destroyed his relationship with us when he decided to humiliate his mother. I am just establishing consequences. Consequences can be very expensive, brother. Sometimes it is better to forgive and move on. I am not going to forgive at the expense of Emily's dignity. If Michael wants my forgiveness first, he has to earn it. It was in those days of solitude when I received another unexpected visit. This time it was Linda again, but she did not come alone. She brought her mother, a woman of about 60, thin face marked by years of hard work. "Mr. Williams," said Linda from the gate, "please just listen to us. My mom wants to talk to you." I hesitated, but something in the expression of that older woman made me open the door. We sat in the living room. Linda's mom looked uncomfortable, wringing her hands on her lap. "Sir," she began with a soft voice, "my daughter told me what happened. Everything, and I come to offer you an apology." "You? Why?" "Because I taught my daughter wrong. I worked so hard all my life that I was never there for her. I never taught her to value women, to respect moms, to understand that having help does not mean having slaves. Linda grew up seeing how I killed myself, working without complaining, and she thought that was normal, that women should endure everything. Mom, with all respect, that is not my problem. I know, but I came because I need you to know that Linda is regretful, truly. She is going to therapy, she is trying to understand her mistakes. I am not asking you to forgive her. Just to know she is doing the work to change. And Michael, he is also doing that work." Linda lowered her gaze. He still does not understand. He is still angry. He still believes you guys exaggerated. I have tried to talk to him to explain, but he does not listen." "Then there is nothing to talk about," I said, standing up. "As long as my son does not recognize what he did, as long as he does not take real responsibility for his actions, there is no way to fix this." "Please, Mr. William," Linda's mom got up too, "give him time. Men are more stubborn to accept our mistakes, but with time, I have waited enough. 32 years I waited for my son to become a good man, and instead he became someone capable of humiliating his own mother. If he wants to change, perfect, but he is going to have to demonstrate it with actions, not words." They left in silence. But before leaving, Linda turned one last time. "Can I ask you something?" "What?" "How is Mrs. Emily?" "She is fine. Better than she has been in years." "I am glad." Her voice broke. "I really am glad. She did not deserve anything of what we did to her." I did not answer. I only closed the door. Emily returned from Chicago a week later with rosy cheeks and bright eyes. Sarah had kept her word. She had given her mother a week of peace, of laughter, of feeling like a grandmother and not a servant. "I missed you," she told me upon arriving, hugging me tight. "I missed you too. How was everything?" "Wonderful. Sarah is so good to me. The kids are a love. We went to the park, cooked together, talked about everything. I feel renewed. You look renewed." That night while we had dinner, Emily told me something that took me by surprise. "Sarah convinced me of something." "Of what?" "To enroll in the university. She helped me fill out the forms. She accompanied me to get copies of my documents. Next semester I start studying architecture." I stared at her fork halfway to my mouth. Seriously, I am 59 years old and I am going to be a student again. What do you think?" "I think it is perfect." "William, there is something else we have to talk about." "What thing?" "Michael, we cannot avoid him forever. He is our son. Eventually we will have to face him. I know, but it has to be on our terms, not his. And what are our terms?" I leaned back in the chair thinking. "That he accepts what he did. That he apologizes for real without excuses. That he understands things will never return to how they were before. And that he earns our respect again with actions, not words. And if he can not do it, then we will have to accept we lost a son. Or rather, that we never had the son we thought we had." Emily nodded slowly. "Sometimes I think I was very harsh letting him go like that without saying anything, just staying quiet while you kicked him out." "Emily, do not start again with the guilt. It is not guilt. It is sadness. Sadness that things have reached this point. I know I am sad too. But sadness does not change what happened. It does not erase the pain he caused you. Only time and work can do that. Do you think one day we can be a family again?" "I do not know," I admitted. "But if it happens, it will be a different family. One where your dignity is not negotiable. One where no one makes you feel small ever again." That night I dreamed of the past. With Michael when he was a boy. When he hugged me and told me, "Dad, I want to be like you when I grow up." With afternoons playing soccer in the garden. With family dinners where we all laughed together. At what moment did it all break? At what moment did my son stop seeing me as an example and start seeing me as an ATM? At what moment did he stop seeing his mother as a person and start seeing her as a servant? I had no answers. I only had pain. A deep pain that no amount of money or professional success could cure. But I also had something else. Hope. Hope that Emily would find her way again. Hope that Sarah would stay close. Hope that maybe one day Michael would wake up and understand the magnitude of what he had lost. And if it did not happen, well, I would have to learn to live with that. Because some things in life have no solution. Some wounds do not heal completely. Some children get lost on the way. But that does not mean one gives up. It does not mean one accepts humiliation, abuse, lack of respect. It means one learns to live with the scars and protects those one loves, whatever the cost. Even if that means facing one's own children. Even if that means burning bridges you once thought were unbreakable. Because at the end of the day, family is not defined by blood. It is defined by respect. And without respect, there is no family worth keeping. 3 months passed. 3 months in which life took a different rhythm. Emily started her classes at the university, and I had never seen her so excited. She arrived home with shining eyes, telling me about projects, about classmates 30 years younger than her, about demanding professors. At first, the other students looked at her with curiosity, but soon she earned their respect. Emily was always intelligent, she just never had the chance to show it. I reorganized my companies to stay permanently in the country. I delegated more responsibilities, hired better managers, learned to trust my team. I discovered I could be successful without sacrificing my personal life. How ironic that it took me almost 60 years to learn it. Sarah visited us every 2 weeks with the kids. The relationship with our daughter had strengthened in a way I never imagined. She and Emily talked on the phone almost every day. Finally, my wife had the support she always should have had. From Michael, nothing. Absolute silence. Until an October afternoon, while Emily and I were drinking coffee in the garden, the doorbell rang. I got up to open, and there he was, my son. He looked different. Thinner, deep, dark circles, clothes, wrinkled hands in pockets, gaze on the ground. Nothing to do with the arrogant man I had kicked out of my house 3 months ago. Dad. His voice was barely a whisper. I said nothing. I just stood there in the doorway, waiting. Can I come in? I need to talk to you. With Mom. With both. No. He looked up, surprised. What? I said, no, you cannot come in. If you want to talk, speak from there. I saw his eyes filling with tears. Dad! Please, William. Who is it? Emily's voice came from the garden. It is Michael. Silence. Then I heard her steps approaching. She appeared behind me, face pale. She stood looking at her son from the safe distance I represented. Mom. Michael took a step forward, but I raised a hand, stopping him. From there, I repeated. Whatever you have to say it from there. Michael swallowed. Tears were now running freely down his cheeks. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I am sorry for everything I did, everything I allowed, everything I did not see. Mom, you did not deserve anything of what we did to you. Nothing. Emily said nothing. She just watched him with an expression I could not decipher. I have been in therapy, Michael continued. For 2 months. Linda too. It took us time, a lot of time, to really understand what we did. I kept justifying myself. I kept looking for excuses. I kept blaming everyone but me. But my therapist made me see things I did not want to see. What things? Emily asked with a trembling voice. That I became a parasite. That I treated you as if you were my property, not my mother. That I took everything Dad and you built and wasted it on whims while you worked like a slave in your own house. That the apron. God, Mom. That damn apron. He broke. He fell to his knees on the porch, sobbing with his face in his hands. I saw it, Mom. In therapy, they made me write everything I did to you. Every single thing. And when I got to the apron, when I remembered your face that day, Dad arrived and found you like that, I realized I am a monster. A complete monster. I felt Emily trembling beside me. I put my arm around her, holding her. Keep talking, I said with a firm voice. You have not finished. Michael looked up, face soaked in tears. I lost my job a month ago. Linda and I separated 2 weeks ago. I'm living in a rented room, working in a supermarket, stocking boxes because it is the only thing I could get. I have nothing, Dad. Nothing. And the worst is, I realized I do not deserve anything. That everything I had was thanks to you guys, and I threw it in the trash. Did you come because you lost everything? I asked. Or did you come because you really understand what you did? I came because... He paused, breathing deep. Because I can not live with myself knowing I hurt the person who loved me most in this world. I came because even if you guys never forgive me, even if I am never part of this family again, I need Mom to know I understand. That I finally understand. Emily let go of my arm. She walked slowly toward where Michael was kneeling. I tensed, ready to stop her if necessary. She stopped a meter away from him. "Look at me," she said with a firm voice. Michael looked up. "Look at me well," repeated Emily. "Do you see this woman in front of you? This is no longer the woman you knew. This woman no longer kneels for anyone. This woman no longer asks forgiveness for existing. This woman no longer makes herself small so others feel big. I know, Mom. And I am glad Dad rescued you from me." "Your dad did not rescue me," Emily corrected him. "I rescued myself. Your dad only reminded me I had the right to do it." Michael nodded with more tears falling. "During 32 years, continued Emily, I gave you everything. My time, my energy, my dreams, my life. I stopped being me to be your mom. And I do not regret that. But you took that sacrifice and turned it into something ugly. You taught me that unconditional love can be dangerous when the other person does not value it. You are right, you are absolutely right, but you also taught me something else." Emily's voice softened slightly. "You taught me I need limits, that I need to value myself before valuing others, that love without respect is garbage." She knelt in front of him, being at his level. I took a step forward instinctively, but she raised a hand, stopping me. "You are my son," said Emily. "You will always be my son. That does not change. But the son I knew, the sweet boy who hugged my legs and told me I was the best mom in the world, that boy died a long time ago. And in his place there is a man I have to get to know again. A man who has to prove to me not with words but with actions that he deserves to be in my life." "How?" asked Michael with desperation. "How can I prove it?" "I do not know," admitted Emily. "But you are going to have to discover it yourself, because I am no longer going to do the work for you. I am no longer going to make things easy. I am no longer going to be the one who fixes everything. This time, if you want to recover your family, you are going to have to fight for it." Emily stood up. Michael stayed kneeling, looking at her as if it were the first time he really saw her. "Your father and I," she continued, "we are going to go on with our lives. I am going to finish my degree. I am going to travel. I am going to do all the things I sacrificed for years. And maybe, just maybe, if you prove you really changed that, you really understand the damage you caused, we can build something new. Not what we had before, because that broke forever. But something different. Something based on mutual respect. I will do whatever is necessary," promised Michael. "Whatever." "Then start by getting up," said Emily. "Start by stopping being on your knees. Because that is how you had me for 2 years. And I do not wish that on anyone. Not even you." Michael got up slowly. He looked at me, seeking something, some sign. "Do not look at me," I told him. "I already made my decision 3 months ago. Now you have to earn your mother's forgiveness. And then maybe, just maybe, you can start earning mine. I understand. Really." He took a step toward him. "Do you understand the will changed? That the companies are now in your mother's name? That even if we forgive you, you will never again have what you had?" "Yes. And that is okay, because I never should have had it to begin with. And Linda, she is working on herself. She is going to therapy. She is looking for a real job. She is trying to be a better person. I do not know if we will be back together. But I know we both need to work on ourselves before we can work on any relationship." I nodded slowly. There was something different in my son. Something in his eyes, in his posture, in his voice. I did not know if it was real or temporary. Time would tell. "You can go," I told him. "When you are ready, when you have done the real work of changing call. But not before. We do not want empty promises. We want proofs. You will have them," said Michael. "Mom, Dad, thanks for not closing the door completely. I know I do not deserve even that." He walked away slowly. We watched him go until he disappeared around the corner. Emily sighed deeply and leaned against me. "Did I do well?" she asked. "You did perfect. It hurts me, William. My heart hurts seeing him like that. I know love, but pain is part of the process. For him and for you." That night Emily could not sleep. I found her at 3 in the morning, sitting in the garden looking at the stars. "What is wrong?" I asked, sitting next to her. "I am thinking about everything the last 32 years. Where did I go wrong as a mother?" "You did not go wrong. You loved too much, maybe. But that is not a mistake. Yes, it is, she contradicted me, because I taught him he could take without giving, that he could receive without thanking, that I would always be there no matter how he treated me. Emily. No, let me finish, she raised a hand. For years I thought being a good mother meant sacrificing everything. It meant putting myself last, always. It meant not having my own needs, but I was wrong. Because by doing that I taught my son that women have no value, that mothers are tools, not people. That was not your mistake. That was his mistake, interpreting it like that. But I allowed it. For 2 years I allowed it, William. 2 years in which I could have said enough. 2 years in which I could have called you. I could have left. I could have done something. But I did not because I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid of being left alone. Afraid of being a burden. Afraid of being useless if I was not serving someone. I hugged her tight while she cried silently. Never again, I whispered in her ear. Never again are you going to feel that fear. Because I am going to be here reminding you every day that you have value, that you are important, that you deserve respect. And if Michael does not change, and if all this was just a show, then we will learn to live without him. Because you and I, Emily, are enough. With Sarah, with the grandkids, with the life we are building now, we are enough. 6 months passed. Michael did not call, did not visit, did not send messages, but we started receiving news of him through other people. Sarah told us he had gotten a better job, that he was paying his own bills, that he was going religiously to therapy. One day a package arrived at the house. Inside was a letter and an envelope with money. The letter said, "Mom, Dad, this is the first payment of a debt I can never finish paying. It is $500, 10% of what I earn each month in my new job as an accountant in a medium-sized company. It is not much, but it is honest. It is mine. I am not asking forgiveness yet. I am not asking you to let me return. I am just demonstrating that I am changing, that I am working, that I understand things are earned, not inherited. I love you guys. I always have, only I did not know how to show it without expecting something in return. Michael." Emily read the letter 3 times with tears falling on the paper. "What do we do with the money?" she asked. "We keep it," I said, as evidence that he is keeping his word. "But we do not answer yet. He needs to demonstrate more." Every month another envelope arrived, $500, without fail. Never with a long letter, just with a line. "Payment of the month. Love you." Emily started changing her attitude toward the situation. She did not cry as much anymore. She did not blame herself anymore. She was busy with her classes, with her projects, with the life she was building. One day she arrived home with exciting news. I passed all my exams of the first semester. I hugged her, lifting her off the ground while she laughed like a girl. "I am so proud of you." The design professor said I have natural talent. At my 59 years, can you believe it? You always had talent. You just needed the chance to show it. That night we celebrated with champagne and an elegant dinner. Emily wore a new dress she had bought with her own money, with her own card. She looked radiant, beautiful, free. "You know what is the best of all this," she told me while we toasted. "What?" "That finally I found myself. After 59 years of being someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's mother, finally I am Emily. Just Emily. And I like who I am. I also fell in love with that Emily," I told her. "In fact, I am falling in love again, as if it were the first time." We kissed under the stars in the garden of our house, with the future open in front of us. Exactly a year after having kicked him out of the house, Michael appeared again. This time he did not arrive alone. He carried a portfolio under his arm. "Dad, Mom," he said from the gate, "I came to show you something. I am not asking to come in. I just want to show you what I have been working on." Emily and I looked at each other. She nodded. We went out to the porch. Michael opened the portfolio and took out some documents. "I started a business. Small, very small. Accounting advice for family businesses. I got my first 3 clients 6 months ago. Now I have 15. It is not much, but it is mine. I built it alone without help from anyone. Without Dad's last name, without his contacts, without his money. We took a look at the papers. They were real. Statements, contracts, invoices. Everything in order." Also continued Michael. "I enrolled in a diploma on emotional intelligence and healthy family relationships. I finished a month ago, and I started giving talks in community centers about the importance of valuing mothers, about how toxic masculinity damages us all." Emily stayed quiet, looking at our son with incredulous eyes. "Why," she asked finally, Why are you doing all this? Because I need to prove to you that I changed. Because I need to prove to myself that I can be better. And why? Because I want other men not to make the same mistakes I made. I want them to value their mothers before it is too late. And Linda. We broke up definitely. She is also working on herself, but on different paths. We realized our relationship was built on incorrect foundations. We both needed to grow alone before being with someone. I stood watching my son. A year ago, he was an arrogant, haughty man, incapable of seeing his own error. Now, in front of me was someone different, more humble, more aware, more human. Impressive, I said finally. Really. But I am still waiting for more. I know. And I am going to keep working. I am going to keep demonstrating, until you decide it is enough. Or until it is never enough, as it should be. There is something I want to ask you, said Emily, taking a step forward. And I want an honest answer. Anything, Mom. If your dad and I decide to forgive you, if we decide to let you return to our lives, what guarantee do I have that you will not be the same man who put that apron on me? Michael closed his eyes, breathed deep. I have no guarantee to give you, Mom. I only have my word, and I know my word is not worth much after everything I did. But I promise you every day I am going to fight against the man I was. Every day I am going to remind myself of the damage I caused. And every day I am going to work to be someone who deserves your love. Emily looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned to me. What do you think? I think he has done the work. I do not know if it is enough, but he has done more than I expected. I think so too, said Emily slowly. But there are conditions. Whatever they are, replied Michael immediately. First, you never live in this house again. This is my house, my refuge, my safe space. I am not going to risk that. Understood. Second, the companies, the money, the inheritances, all that is no longer yours. Your dad and I decided to donate a large part of our fortune to organizations that help women victims of family abuse. What is left will be for your sister Sarah and her kids. You will have to build your own path. Seems fair. Third, if ever you disrespect me again, if you treat me like less than a person again, there will be no second chance. You will lose me forever. Understood? Yes, Mom. Understood. Emily extended her hand. Michael looked at her confused. Give me your hand, son. He obeyed, with tears rolling down his cheeks. Emily squeezed his hand hard. Welcome back. But remember, this is not a complete forgiveness. It is an opportunity. A last opportunity. Do not waste it. Michael broke. He knelt in front of his mother, crying like a child. Thanks, Mom, thanks. I am not going to fail you. I swear. Emily caressed his head gently. Get up. Enough kneeling, both mine and yours. Get up and walk straight like the man you can be. That night after Michael left, Emily and I stayed in silence for a long time. Did I do well? She asked finally. You did what your heart dictated, and that is always right. I am afraid it will happen again, that he will hurt me again. If it happens, we will face it together. But I think this time is different. I think he really hit bottom and is trying to climb. Did you forgive him? The question took me off guard. I stayed thinking. Not completely. There is still rage inside me. I still remember how I found you that day on your knees with that apron, and every time I remember it, I want to kick him out again. But I also know rage builds nothing, only destroys. So I am trying to let go of the rage little by little with time. Do you think one day we can be a family again? We will never be the family we were, but we can be a different family. A family where everyone knows their limits, where everyone respects the limits of others, where love is not blind but conscious. Emily rested her head on my shoulder. Thanks for rescuing me. I told you. You rescued yourself. I was only there to remind you that you could do it. 2 years have passed since that day I opened the door of my house and found my wife on her knees with an apron that said Maid. 2 years in which Emily finished 3 semesters of architecture with honors. 2 years in which we traveled to Europe, to Asia, to all the places she always dreamed of knowing. 2 years in which we learned to be a couple again. Not just parents. Michael has kept his word. He comes to visit us once a month, always with something to show. A new client, a recognition at his work, a certificate from some course. He never asks for anything. He only shares his progress and leaves. Emily is learning to trust him again. I still have reservations, but I am working on them. Sarah and her kids visit us more and more often. My daughter told me recently, Dad, I have never seen you so happy. Nor Mom either. She is right. We are happy. in a different way, more conscious, more grateful. There are days when Emily still has nightmares. Days when she wakes up shaking, remembering. On those days I hug her and remind her that is in the past, that now she is free, that no one ever again is going to put her on her knees. And there are days when I also have nightmares. Days when I dream I arrive late, that I did not arrive in time to save her, that I lost her in that silent hell she lived for 2 years. On those days, she hugs me and reminds me I did arrive, that I am here, that we are still together. This morning, while we had breakfast in the garden, Emily showed me her report card. Straight, as she said with pride. "You are incredible, did you know that?" "Now I know," she replied with a smile. "Before I did not know, but now I do, and that is the difference." Emily now knows herself, knows her value, knows her limits, and is never again going to allow anyone, not even her own son, to take them away. If someone asked me what I learned from all this, I would say several things. First, that love without respect is a prison, not a gift. Second, that sometimes the closest family can be the most damaging, and that it is okay to walk away when it is necessary to survive. Third, that it is never too late to rebuild yourself. Emily is 61 years old and is living the best version of her life. Fourth, that second chances must be earned, not given. Michael is earning his day by day with actions, not words. And fifth, that dignity is not negotiable, never for anyone. There is a phrase my father told me when I was young. "Son, you can lose everything in life, money, properties, success, but if you lose your dignity, you lose your soul." For years I thought I understood that phrase, but it was not until I saw Emily on her knees cleaning the floor of her own house with a humiliating apron that I really understood its meaning. Dignity is the only thing that really matters, and protecting the dignity of who you love is the greatest act of love that exists, even if that means facing your own son, even if that means breaking the family you built, even if that means starting over at 60. Because a life without dignity is not life, it is just existence. And Emily, my wife, my partner of 37 years, deserves much more than just existing. She deserves to live, and that is exactly what she is doing at last. If you are listening to this story and feel identified, if there is someone in your life who is being treated without dignity, if you yourself are living on your knees, I want to tell you something important. Never is it too late to get up. Never is it too late to say enough. Never is it too late to recover your value. And if you have someone in your life who is going through this, do not look the other way. Do not wait. Do not justify the unjustifiable act. Because sometimes a single act of bravery can change a complete life, like it changed Emily's, like it changed mine. Thanks for listening to this story. Thanks for accompanying us on this journey. And remember, respect is not optional. It is essential. Take care of yourself. Take care of yours. And never, never allow anyone to make you feel less than you are. Because you are worth it. You have always been worth it only. That maybe, like Emily, you needed someone to remind you.